All right, Derek. Well, thanks for hanging with me this morning. Not too long ago, we got to sit down with Craig Davis and talk about really drilling down into clarifying and defining with more specificity our mission statement at Advantage Mortgage. And what we came up with is helping mortgage professionals get back to what they love. Now, that sounds all warm and fuzzy, but we really put a lot of deep thought into what that statement means. And one of the things it means is talking about the pain points that mortgage professionals experience and then talking about how we have solved for those pain points here at Advantage, and maybe also dispelling a few myths that exist about the broker channel in general and Advantage Mortgage in particular. So let's talk a little bit about the subject of control, which is one of those pain points that we are solving for.
Yeah, that's a big thing that a lot of loan officers that I've talked to over the last 8 years, when they're, thinking about making a move, one of their biggest concerns is, well, I have all this control. And I always ask them, well, what does that really mean? And it's really a perception. They think that, they have an underwriter sitting next door to them, or, they have a designated team, and, they have their own doc drawer and their own funder. And it's almost like the control pieces do what I say, and that's sometimes not very motivating for people that want to work for you. But at the same time, it's really a perception, because in the broker world, we have lots of control. A lot of, most of the time, retail companies are saying, well, you can't talk to underwriters on the broker side, which is a complete myth. We talk to all the underwriters at every lender that we work with. We talk to them. They call us out on our approvals. They work with us on conditions. We're constantly talking to underwriters. And if you really think about that statement, if a company wants business from you, do you think they're going to say, no, you can't talk to our underwriters? Nobody's going to do that. So it's
Right.
really a fallacy.
And if you go back to early 2000 thinking, there was a lot more control in the sales channel over underwriting. I mean, there just was. But after 2008 and all the regulatory changes that occurred, most companies have built a pretty strong firewall between sales and underwriting. Not that you can't communicate, but you certainly don't have control except to engage in conversation, to run through a scenario desk or something like that, which is exactly the same tools and resources that we have, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, underwriters used to be kind of help loan officers with structuring deals, or how do I get
Sure.
this done? That has definitely changed. But with that said, I mean, we have underwriters that are great, that help us problem solve, which is another thing that I think a lot of people think they don't get on the wholesale side. Like, I just had a loan, um, that the underwriter was like, hey, if you do a 25-year term versus a 30-year term, this FHA loan will get approved. And I was like, what? I've never heard of that. I've heard putting
Right.
5% down. So we have all these same, avenues of success with regards to underwriters wanting to do business and wanting to help us fund loans. So really, the control is not as, again, it's a perception, because it's not a reality. We're doing a lot of business, and we have a lot of great relationships with underwriters. But not only that, when your retail underwriting team doesn't approve a loan, or they don't like the way the income is, or they don't like something about the file, they feel like the risk is too much, and they just can't sell it to their investors, which I remember hearing and just going, because a lot of companies underwrite to the strictest underwriting guidelines so they can sell that loan to 6 or 7 different lenders, right?
Sure.
Well, on the wholesale side, there is no overlays. We don't have any. And if one lender doesn't like our file, we have the ability to take our file and go to another lender. We don't lose it. We don't go to the bar and say, I'm sorry, we can't do your loan. We can flip it to another lender, or we can submit the loan to 3 lenders at the same time, or 4 lenders. I mean, how, not that you want to do that, but we can.
Sure.
We have
Sure.
done that before. Um, and we take the one that gives us the approval, that will help us make that decision to get the loan
And
approved.
and to be
So,
clear, we're not talking about plain in the gray here. We're talking about sellable loans, loans that meet
mhm,
the conditions, but there is still a subjective nature to underwriting. And if an underwriter just has decided that their guidelines are a bit stricter, their interpretation of income is a bit stricter, or whatever the issue
mhm,
is, it's not
mhm,
about keeping anything from the light of day. It's about there's still a
Right.
subjective nature to underwriting. We have that option to go
Yep.
take if we believe in the file and believe it will be a sellable loan,
Mm-hmm.
then we have that option to take it elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes with turn times. You know, a lot of times retail lenders say, I've got control. I can close loans in X amount of days. Well, we all can. I mean, that's,
Sure.
we funded 1,200 loans last year, and our average turn time from submission to clear to close was 14 days.
Right.
So, if we need to go fast, we have lenders that we can pick that go really fast. We
Well, and if the
have the
average is 14
options.
days, that's already pretty fast.
Yeah, it is, but everybody can do the one-off, right? I did one in eight
Sure.
days before with an appraisal. So again, that's a control piece that is not necessarily a thing on the retail side. We can close fast. And there's lots of other things with regards to control. We can same day fund. We do that often. We got, deals that we need to close and we need to close them fast, and we could do remote signings, we could do hybrid signings, there's all that stuff. But the real big one that I see that used to really torque me off is the whole lock renegotiation policies. We would
Repricing.
get, yeah, in a rate decreasing environment, we've got a loan, we locked it, and now all of a sudden rates drop. The borrower goes, well, hey, so and so called me and I can get this rate. I was smoked because our lock renegotiation policy was so hefty that it rarely made sense for the borrower to do a
Sure.
uh, get some sort of renegotiation. Well, in my channel, if rates drop, we can send that loan to another lender. And a lot of people go, "Oh, that ruined the relationships with the lender." I'm like, no, it doesn't. That's what retail tells you. Well, what about your lock pull through? Yeah, we look at that, but it's if I'm taking one loan because rates dropped and I'm taking it from one lender, I'm probably going to do the same thing with another loan. So I'm just swapping loans. So the
Right.
reality is the relationship isn't tainted, and really that's my responsibility to worry about our lenders' relationships, not the loan officer. I want my
Loan
loan
officer's
officer to
job
do
is to
it.
satisfy that client, get that deal closed, and ensure a
Absolutely.
continuing relationship with a referral partner.
Right. So who has the control? Me. I could take that loan wherever I want. I'm not
And
losing the
again, to be clear, we're
borrower.
not talking about repricing for an eighth in rate in a
No.
normal market. We're talking about those issues where there really is a fairly significant change in rates, typically to the downward side, and
Yeah.
you're caught in a pickle where you can't
Yeah.
meet a rate that's now out there readily available in the marketplace.
Right. Yeah. And we could do the float down options. I mean, there just isn't anything that we can't do on the wholesale side. So really the control piece is a complete 100% myth.
Well, you could argue that it's not only a myth, it actually weighs heavily in the favor of the broker channel when used properly.
Yeah. Yeah, we could submit TBD underwrites. We can submit income to lenders. I've done that before where I've submitted income to three different lenders, and underwriters do have different ways of calculating it. So it's like, oh, they're the ones that we're going to use. It's awesome.
All right. Well, that's probably a great place to leave the conversation about control. So let's stop this one there. But thanks for taking time to really spell out. Again, this is all about not only the broker channel, but Advantage Mortgage in particular. So thanks, Derek, for taking the time.
You bet.
All right. So I stopped